My stepson, age 24, is getting kicked out of his apartment because he doesn't want to pay rent anymore. His roommate found another tenant and asked him to leave. He asked if he could move in with me and his mom, and I said no. Some background. He's a 24-year-old college graduate who works part-time when he decides to work. I help pay for his expenses while he attended college, and I feel like with him being 24, it's time to man up and at least attempt to provide for yourself. Me not allowing him to live in my home means he would have to move from Miami to Illinois to live with his dad. He insists that he doesn't want to move, but he also refuses to get a job. Me and his mother tried to explain that you have to work in order to get what you want. We've sent him job postings and I wrote his resume. I even added a little fluff to the resume to help him get interviews. He would get interviews, in some cases making it to testing, but would forget to take his test. So needless to say, I'm done trying. So I thought. Fast forward to this week, he calls with his sob story about getting kicked out for non-payment. I tell him he can't stay in my house because he refuses to work. I can't imagine working a 10 to 12 hour day while a healthy college-educated man sleeps till 1 p.m. and parties all night on my dime. So, because I care about him, I offered to buy him a plane ticket back to Illinois. He refused because he doesn't want to leave his car. According to him, he's put too much money in the car and he doesn't want to leave his belongings. Okay, I offered to rent him a U-Haul truck with a trailer as a one-way rental. He refused, saying he doesn't want to drive. According to him, the only option is to live with us. At this point, I'm done, so I flat out say no and get back to Illinois the best way you can. Am I the idiot? By the way, his mother says she agrees with me, but I can tell she wants to let him stay. Not the idiot. If you let him move in rent-free or in general, he'll never leave. He can grow up or be homeless, to be honest. He needs a job and his dad would only let it go so far as well, I'm assume. He's 24 years old, not disabled in any way, from what you said, and laziness isn't a disability. He can get a job and pay his rent, or any rent. He shouldn't be coddled. He'll never leave then. If he moved in with you, you will have to get eviction papers and the police to drag him out. You know it. Even his mother knows it. You gave him options and he rejected them all. One last thing, a final offer. A gas card with enough money on it to drive his car to Illinois. Does Mom perchance give him money that Dad wouldn't? Yes, she spoils him. His dad already said he's got 30 days to get a job if he comes. And there it is. Of course he wants to stay where he can mooch off Mom. Mom agrees with you that he should live with Dad, but she's the very reason he doesn't want to. Of course, it might be fraught with danger telling her this. Absolutely not the idiot. I paid rent to my parents. I worked the whole time, and I moved out as soon as it was financially feasible to do so. I can't fathom leeching off other people for the entirety of my lifetime. You've offered help in numerous forms. You did everything other than pee in a cup and go to work for him. You've offered different ways for him to move. It's time for him to sink or swim on his own. A harsh reality check is what he needs to become a functional adult at this point. Maybe a couple nights couch surfing with friends and sleeping in his car will do him good. You are the idiot. Is your stepson okay? Just stopping payments for things like living expenses because he doesn't feel like it isn't normal behavior, nor is sleeping all day. Is it possible he's suffering from serious depression? I'm not sure about this one. If he's actually looking for a job, just can't get one because of testing and the economy, then you're the idiot. If he's actually as lazy as you describe him, then he's the idiot too. You're clearly just trying to get rid of him. I, 40 female, am currently not working due to an extremely mismanaged labour a little over a year ago that left me unable to stand for extended periods and I had difficulty walking. As a result, I've been at home a lot more than I usually am. I usually lecture at a local university. My partner and I own a 5-acre section on the outskirts of a town. There are 2 buildings on the property, our 2-bedroom home and an 8-bedroom former B&B that we run as a very cheap rental, more because the rental market here sucks and we wanted to help out than because we need the money. The house is usually mostly rented by young adults who have been placed here by a local council agency that supports young who have mental or physical disabilities or mental health issues. This started a few years back because my partner, a semi-retired professor, researcher, doctor, offered to set up a free counselling program for these kids. They found out about the house and it went from there. Depending on the size of the room, each room rents for $30 to $60 per week including bills, which makes it significantly cheaper than most rentals in the area, about a third or half the usual rent. During lockdown last year, I was struggling to keep the house and garden maintained as well as look after the baby and recover. A couple of the kids here noticed and offered to help out until I was better, and we came to an agreement where essentially they would do the housework and gardening in exchange for free meals that I'd make for them. I quickly realised that they didn't actually know how to do these things after our laundry got flooded twice, etc. So this ended up getting turned into a Life Skills 101 class, essentially, where I taught them how to repair clothes, get stains out, clean, etc. And over time also ended up including guidance on how to sit interviews, how to write a CV, how to find a job, play an instrument, cook a variety of meals, etc. I enjoyed it because it made me feel like I wasn't just sitting around doing nothing, and they enjoyed not having to buy their own food. Most of the kids in the house got involved over time. Over Christmas, a couple of them moved out as they'd found jobs and wanted to live closer to them. One of the new kids that moved in was a girl with Down syndrome. She was very passionate about my garden, so I taught her about all the different types of plant and how to look after them, and helped her get a part-time job at a local plant nursery. The problem is that her mother has now come around and gone completely mental at me for trying to replace her, which wasn't my intention at all, and now has me second-guessing the whole situation. I might be the idiot because I can see how it might look like I'm trying to replace these kids' mothers, or alternatively how it might look like I'm using them as cheap labour, neither of which were my intention at all, but given how upset the girl's mum was, I can't help but feel like I've done the wrong thing here. Not the idiot, her mum has issues. She hears about the nice lady teaching her daughter the skills she hasn't bothered to teach her daughter, and she has taken her guilt out on you. I'd be so embarrassed if that was my mom. Not the idiot. I fail to see how teaching a young lady with Downs how to garden is you trying to replace her mother. And where has the mother been before now? You're not replacing her mom. You're giving her opportunities to grow. You keep doing it. You seem to love helping these kids out, and I guarantee they will always remember you and be grateful to Life Lessons 101. Oh wow, this is so wholesome. You are not the idiot. The young lady in question is presumably an adult, so she decides if she wants to make new friends and learn new skills. Mom needs to deal with her own empty nest insecurity issues and be happy for her daughter's growth, not expect her daughter to be dependent on her forever. My boyfriend, 24, and I, 26 female, have been living together for a little over a year and dating for 3. We found out recently that I had become pregnant. While this is not something we were planning, we are financially in a position to take on this responsibility. We had also previously discussed having kids and were both for it down the line, so we decided to go forward with this. We were both very excited and things were going well until 5 days ago when I had lost it. I have had a tough time processing it and have been very sad and emotional these past few days. However, my boyfriend insists on praying with or for me all the time. He wants to ask forgiveness for whatever mistakes we may have made in our life. He says once God forgives us for our sins, we will once again receive a child. We have discussed religion before. I believe in it, but I'm not super religious. He believes in it a lot more than me. I understand he's hurting, but I am processing my own grief. I do not want to sit in the prayer room all day and ask for forgiveness, and certainly not for another child right now. It's all a bit much for me. I've tried communicating this to him, but he keeps praying and asks me to join him all the time. He has been doing it again since breakfast this morning. It has all built up a lot of anger, and I finally lost it and told him to leave the apartment about half an hour ago. I had been crying since then until his parents called me and told me I'm being insensitive, harsh, and not caring for his feelings and needs. I understand that I shouldn't have yelled or told him to leave, but it was getting overwhelming and a continuous reminder to me of what I had lost. Was I really the idiot here? Not the idiot. It's incredibly unhealthy to view a loss as a punishment from God and to have him constantly in your face talking about your sins when you're trying to grieve and process your loss. I can't even imagine. I'm so sorry, and I hope you know that sins had nothing to do with it. You are not wrong here. The main idea of the whole thing is always, God is not an idiot. He didn't give you a pregnancy loss, you did nothing wrong, and you do not need to ask for forgiveness. Your boyfriend is the insensitive one here. I'm so sorry you're having to go through this and he isn't supportive of you. Not the idiot. The idea that anything that either of you did cause pregnancy to end is wrong and very damaging. Your boyfriend is grieving. He had obviously become much attached to the idea of being a dad and now wants it more than anything. He's also not thinking clearly and may need grief counselling. He needs to respect that you are processing this in your own way. You need to be allowed to do that, and so does he, but neither of you has the right to impose their coping mechanisms on the other. Also, don't allow him to pressure you into getting pregnant again if you're not ready. This is a decision for both of you to make rationally, and he's not rational right now. My wife gained some weight over the past year and was already overweight, so she wanted to make change. She's also pretty short, so the amount of calories she needs to eat is a lot lower than me. I'm 6'4" and an average weight for my height. She started using the 1200 is plenty sub to get ideas for food, and so she's constantly getting excited about low-calorie substitutions for things. Stuff like cauliflower instead of rice, spaghetti squash, halo top, etc. She's a good cook anyway. But because of the way she measures and portions things out, I end up still hungry and going through lots of snacks where I'd rather just have a filling meal. One of the things she makes is burritos with these extreme wellness wraps that are 50 calories, cauliflower, beans, homemade salsa, and whatever else we have around. They taste good but aren't satisfying for me at all and make me toot a lot. I finally sat her down and told her that I'm totally excited she's getting in control of her diet and that she's doing great. I've noticed a huge change in her overall, but that I need more calories and more satisfying meals. I asked if she would mind throwing some rice in the Instant Pot when she does stuff with cauliflower, or said I'd do it and she could just warm it up for me with the cauliflower. I gave a lot of suggestions that I could make my rice and stuff ahead of time, and she told me that it would be too much strain on the budget and would be too much temptation for her to have around. She got mad and accused me of trying to sabotage her. I argued back, saying that there's nothing to sabotage. I want her to lose weight as well, so I would be shooting myself in the tootsies if I did that. We kept going back and forth, and finally she just threw up her hands and said, "Whatever, fine, be an idiot and eat all that in front of me." She went and vented about it on her Twitter, and all her friends were telling her I was a bucket crab. I don't really get it, and trying to push food on her. I just want to feel satisfied and have her lose weight. Am I the idiot? I don't think you're being an idiot here, but you're probably going to have to start making your own food to avoid fighting with your hangry wife. She prefers to be the one to cook for us. Budget, act of love, etc. I do other stuff she doesn't like doing. Vacuum, garbage, laundry, etc. Not the idiot. A bucket crab is when you have a bucket full of crabs, none escapes because as soon as one tries, the others pull them back down again. What your wife is doing may be healthy for her, but it's unhealthy for you. You're not getting the nutrition you need to maintain your energy. Since she's not being reasonable, you need to take matters into your own hands. Either start eating more filling foods before you get home from work, or you start cooking your own meals. It's obvious to me that OP is the one who needs to escape from the bucket. Does anyone else think it's weird that she jumped onto Twitter to call him these things to all her friends? I'd be really hurt if someone I love started talking crap about me online because we got in an argument. It sounds like she's having a hard time acting like an adult. Going to agree with what others have said here and recommend couples counselling. Rice and potatoes are among the cheapest foods available, so no, they will not strain the budget. It sounds to me, and I'm not a therapist, this is just based on experience, that your wife may have some control issues surrounding food. Could do with some exploration in therapy. When I, male 19, was a little kid, my father passed away in a helicopter accident. It was the lowest point in my life. I was completely alone for the first time as my father did almost everything for me. I went into therapy and years later have accepted it and moved on with my life. My mother had always wanted another child, but my father objected to it. This I am sure of, as she would always come and ask me if I wanted a brother or sister. However, my mother was no longer able to give birth because she had ovarian cancer soon after I was born. My father was completely against adopting, mainly because he was happy with his family right now. When my father died, my mother grieved for a bit but moved on much faster than I did. When I was a bit older, my mother began to foster a girl, Trisha. Trisha is 2 years younger than me, but the thing was my father was the sole breadwinner, and then I found out he left everything to me. He had done this behind my mother's back and made my grandfather hold on to the assets till I was 18. My mother was upset and tried to go to the courts and make herself the benefactor. This ticked me off, and now I was certain my father did the right thing. I never got along with Trisha. She kept on insulting my father, and my mother condoned this behaviour. Honestly, my mother always wanted a daughter, and with Trisha she got that. We barely spent any time together, and when I graduated from high school, I didn't invite her to the graduation ceremony. Anyway, my grandfather recently passed and left everything to me. To my name, I have 3 properties and a lot of money, low 8 figures. Most of it came from my grandfather, but a good chunk came from my father. I really appreciate what they've done for me. I used my grandfather's life insurance policy to help me pay for my college. Trisha came to me crying how she felt bad that her family gave her nothing. I was pretty mad because she never met my dad or grandfather and wants to pull the family card. I told her they weren't her family. My mother called me a few days later and asked if I could give some money to Trisha so she can pay for college and maybe buy a house. She wants $1 million. I told her not to contact me ever again and told her my family was blood. She called me an idiot before I cut the call. I do feel bad because Trisha did have a tough life, but I cannot give her money because she asked for it and the blood comment was out of line. Not the idiot. She is trying to con you into giving her money. The family is blood statement is incorrect, but you're right to say she's not family. She has never done anything to make you feel like family, and after crap talking your dad and never meeting your grandfather, she wants their money? Tell her to take out loans and work like everyone else. Not the idiot. This is your inheritance and your foster sister has absolutely no rights to it. The $1 million for the house is just completely ridiculous. If you want to be a saint, you could help her out with college tuition after she applies for financial aid if she's eligible, and scholarships, of course. You have every right to be upset, as they do sound like idiots in this situation. You're all idiots here. Only thing I really have enough info to say, your dad seems like the biggest idiot. He changed his will behind his wife's back so that in the event of his death, his family that he was so happy with would be left with nothing. Sure, you get it when you're 18, but your mom has to take care of child tomorrow and for the next 8 years after that. And she tries to move on by following her dreams of expanding her family, which, tragic as your dad's death is, he was the only reason she wasn't following. It sucks Trisha turned out to be mean or whatever, but a blood sibling could be like that just as easily. You are an idiot as well for the whole "my family is blood" thing.